Hello everybody. So I know it took me a little while to make this video, but let's go ahead and do it. So in a previous video, I showed you how to make this pattern for a Black Widow, North American Arms Black Widow. Let's see here. I've got a real one in the house, but right here at the shop I got, this is my mold. So if you, like I said in the other video, if you're using the real gun, make sure it's unloaded before you draw any patterns or do any moldings or anything like that. So you don't need that right now. What we do need is some leather and the pattern that we drew. I use, it's 8 to 10 ounce, and it's actually called holster leather. You can get it at Wickett and Craig makes it, Herman Oak make, all of them make it. This is pre-dyed stuff. If you're trying to get into practicing to see if you like it or anything like that, you can probably buy a scrap, like a remnants bag, and make this pattern because it's a small one. And remnant bags are usually pretty cheap because most of the pieces are really small, but you'll have a few chunks like this. You should be able to find something about this big. If not, you can order a side. You can order it by the square foot, which a square foot would definitely take care of all this. You could order the stuff off of Amazon, Tandy, Weaver Leather, Springfield Leather. Buckle Guy sells leather by the square foot. The only thing you're going to want to make sure is that I'd say at least 6 to 7 ounce. That would be like the bare minimum I would go. And make sure it's veg tan, because you don't want chrome tan. It's tan with salts, and it could eat away at the finish of your gun. So that's the requirements. That's what I would do. At least, honestly, I would stick with like the 8 to 9, 8 to 10 ounce would be a good sturdy leather that'll last you a long time. And make sure it's vegetable tan. Other than that, you can pick different colors. You could do stuff like that. You could laminate. I've got, I wouldn't start with this, but, you know, I've got one coming down the pipeline with an ostrich leg, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, today we're just going to make a basic holster. This is going to be an in the waistband holster for the Black Widow, just like the pattern I made. So go back and watch that video if you need to learn how to make a pattern. So we've already got that part squared away. So here's our pattern. Here's our piece of leather. Now, you have to make sure you put it the right way. I do all mine, so the drawing, so all the words and everything, I'll know that. For right-handed, everything needs to face up. If I want to do a left-handed, everything will need to face down. So, we got the pattern oriented the right way that we want it. All that good stuff. Find out where we want to put it on the leather. Some scratches here. Those usually come out when you mold and stuff. If you did do a remnant pack and it has a lot of scratches or holes or something like that, so it's going to have a clip right here. So this whole piece would pretty much be covered. So that's where you'd want to put any kind of scratches or blemishes if you did. So here we go. Lay that down flat. It's easiest if you have something to hold it down, particularly something heavy, so it's not bouncing all over, and you just trace. You may want to flip it around and do it on the back, just so you don't risk putting any pin marks on the front, especially when you just start. So in order to do that, you flip it over, flip your pattern over, do it like this and trace, because it's going to be the opposite. So there's the pattern. Now, the boring part where we cut it out. I cut everything with a box cutter if it's not something I have a die for. I am a holster maker. That's what I do for a living. So I have tools that make production a lot easier. But you can do this with just a box cutter. Make sure you got a fresh blade. These are the blades I use. Cobalt utility blades. They're the heavy duty ones. Any kind of regular razor knife blades will not work. You need the strong ones. Get yourself a fresh one. Don't try to fight it. And then cut it out. Alright, so we got everything cut out. These spots right here can be kind of tricky because they're pretty sharp corners. But what you can do, they sell these little kits on Amazon with different clips, and this isn't one, but they got like a corner. You can get that and basically put them down. Let me see if I can find corner. You could basically put them in the spot right here, and you could put a piece of leather underneath it or cardboard or something and tap it with a hammer like this, and it'll cut it nice and clean for you. Otherwise, just take your time and go slow and watch your fingers and don't cut towards you and all that good stuff. So we got the pattern cut out. Another thing, since I'm distracted here, but you can design the patterns where you don't have so sharp at corners like that too. It'll help. Anyway, now we're going to need to mark where our stitch lines are going to be. So I take this handy dandy awl here, set your pattern on top of your cut out piece, and just start poking holes where you drew them before. Don't worry about this, the outside edge, because it's going to change anyway. When you put these together, they're not going to match up perfectly. I mean, it'll be pretty close. But either way, when you glue it, you're going to want to sand this so it's nice and smooth and even. So don't worry about this outside edge, just do the inner edge. And then do the same on the inside. Boom. Hopefully I'm still in frame. Sorry guys, I like to wander out. I try to set the camera up where this square is always in frame, so hopefully this time it worked. All right, we got the holes poked. You can't see them, but I'm gonna go over them with a pen. I am gonna go off frame for that. Just a moment. Okay, so I took a pen and I connected all the dots, so should be able to see them a little better that way. When we go to put this together, we'll know this is where the glue goes. Glue both sides of this bad boy right here. Glue, glue. And then you would stick them together. But first, we have to burnish. So this is a burnishing tool. It's a little fork with a blade on it. This is another thing you can get off of Amazon, Tandy, Weaver, any of the leather supply places. I found that if you put a little water on the edge, it makes the burnishing a lot easier. So let's give her a little dab of water here. Oh, off camera again, sorry. Just a little bit. You're not soaking it, you're not drenching it, just a little bit. For some reason, it really helps when you're beveling the edges. So then you go across like so, stab your finger, it's always good. Keep those fingers out of the way. Do the top. Very hard to do on camera, just so you know. Anyway, I'm not going to keep struggling trying to reach halfway across the desk and do this, but you're going to bevel these edges front and back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick off camera. There we go. Stick with me, I'll be right back. Alrighty. Now we're cooking with grease, sorta. Okay, top and bottom are beveled. Now you want to burnish it. You can use water, you can use saddle soap, you can use this stuff called gum tragacanth, which is what I use, or toconol, either one. The whole premise behind it here is you get a little bit and you put it on the surface you're wanting to burnish. Tell in this case that it's getting wet there. And also if you use toconol or gum tragacanth, whatever you put this on, you're not going to be able to dye it afterwards. So if you have to do any dyeing, make sure you do that beforehand. Toconol says that you can dye, but I found that it's a little more resistant even than the tragacanth, in my opinion. Anyway, so you get you a slicker. This is a specific leather slicker, but you could use a pen. You could use a marker. You could use, if all you had money for to buy was the beveler right now, you can use the beveler as a burnisher. Anything smooth will put a nice edge on there. What you're looking for is that nice hard edge with no pieces of the leather sticking up, and it'll be nice and smooth. It'll almost feel like glass. So go ahead and get your edges beveled. I'm going to do the top and the bottom. Okay, so we got the edges burnished, not beveled like I said a minute ago. And we got a mess everywhere. Okay, next here what we would do is you'd put your stamp on in this case. Let's see here. There's mine. All right, so everything's burnished, beveled, all that good stuff. This is usually where I'd put my maker's mark on, but I've currently got this camera being held up on my press, so we're gonna skip that today and pretend like it's there. So anyway, next thing you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to attach a clip to it. So I've got this one pre-made for the sake of science, but you just cut out a shape that's larger than your clip so you have enough room to sew around it, like so. Attach a rivet in the middle with this particular type of clip. Some clips don't require rivets. I don't really like those because they, no matter how tight you get them in there, it's gonna wear loose over time. So I would definitely, the rivets are very inexpensive. You can get the rivets and the rivet setters at Walmart, even Hobby Lobby, stuff like that for a couple bucks. So rivet that bad boy in there, put the clip on like so, and we're gonna decide where it goes in orientation to this holster. Now we're gonna figure out if we have enough room to put it on here with our stitch lines as well. Oh yeah, we got plenty of room. Good stuff. So figure out where you want it. If you want it to sit a little deeper, you're gonna go higher. If you want it to sit, you know, the gun itself higher up above your waistband, you would go lower. We'll split the difference and go about mid-range there, okay? That's your preference. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that awl again and we're gonna make an outline. Make sure this point is under. Don't just go on the edge. If you go on the edge, you're gonna leave a mark all the way around the edge that you're not gonna be able to get rid of. Everyone's gonna see it. So make sure you're going under and just go slow and go under the whole perimeter of this clip, like so. And then take your awl and scratch this up because the glue will sit a lot better on a rough surface. You can write little messages under there if you want to. You never know, some of you may have bought them and it might say hi. Who knows? So next you're gonna glue this bad boy up. You can use leather glue, obviously. You can use contact cement. You could use wood glue if that's all you can get a hold of. Wood and leather are kind of similar, so I've had it work in the past just by using Gorilla Glue when I couldn't get the leather glue. I usually use this EcoFlow leather weld. It's really good stuff and really strong. The stitches are what hold it together, not the glue. If you want to make sure you've got 100% sew and 100% glue, then definitely use contact cement. You can buy little jars of it. You can buy big jars of it at Ace, Lowe's, stuff like that. Don't use the rubber cement you get in the art store. Use, I think it's Atwood or Allwood or something, contact cement. And make sure you're in a well-ventilated area because you don't want to be sniffing that stuff. So what you're going to do is you're going to glue this and clamp it on, and you're going to let that dry. When we come back, I'm going to have a sewn up holster because I'm trying to save some time in this video. So what you're going to do here, glue this and you'll sew this piece on. I have a sewing machine, so I get to cheat. If you don't have a sewing machine and you've ordered a little mini kit off of Amazon, it'll likely come with something like this, or maybe one that has adjustable heads on it, but it's a stitching prong. So it'll keep everything nice and even for you. And what you do after this dries is you'd go through here. I'd suggest start off the edge, have one prong off the edge. Hope you guys can see that. I'll do it like this. Put one prong directly off the edge, so you make sure you start at the same point here that you do over here, so it'll be nice and even all the way. On corners like this, don't try to squeeze in the double. What I would do is make a small imprint of where it should be going next, and then use this one to make sure it's straight and doesn't get cockeyed and crooked on the way around. So once that's glued, that's what you're going to do. Stamp all your stitching holes, and then you're going to run through with your thread and you're going to sew it. I am going to cheat and use a sewing machine. All right, so like I said, we got this all stitched up, and now that the clip is attached and stitched up, we can go ahead and glue this up and put glue to the glue lines here, just like it says. And then I use these little binder clips, clip everything together after it's been glued. It'll look something like, whoops, try to do this one hand. It'll look something like this. And then we'll be ready to move on to the next step. So what we did after the glue dries, you're gonna sand this edge so it's nice and level. We worry about finishing it later. And then you'll stitch up the side here. So now basically you've got a completed holster ready for wet molding. So what you do is you come over here, and we have a tub of warm water, not hot, not boiling, just warm water. You can't stick your hand in there, it's too hot. So this is where you would unload your gun and put it in a plastic bag. Make sure it's unloaded. I'm gonna say that one more time. Put it in a plastic bag so it doesn't get damaged. I'm using a mold in this case. And you'll stick this in the warm water. Just let it sit there and soak. You know, blah, 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 blah. A few seconds, not that long. You can feel it when it starts getting a little soft. That's all it needs, just so it's softer. See, that was it. That was probably 10 seconds. Then, out of the water, but I only have one hand, you stick your mold in there. And what I do at this point is I take my burnisher and I work this edge here and start putting a roughed in smooth on there. And then you sit this outside and just let it dry.